So, good afternoon, all. Today we're going to see, nested and local classes. Okay, is my screen visible to you? Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so those things. Okay, so those are the things which actually missed by the students, those online, right? So we'll quickly revise those things for those who are miss those terminology regarding nested and local classes. So we start with a nested class, right? So nested class is a class within a class which is declared inside another class is something called a nested class. So it is the nested class is inside scope of another class. So there is two classes, one is inner class and another one is outer class, right? So in that case, it is called as nesting, right? So mm, it is obviously available within the scope. So refer to side nested class, you must use a fully qualified name when you want to access the things, right? So in that case, you need to use a fully qualified name with scope resolution operator, right? And the member of an enclosing class have no special access to member of nested class. That means whatever rules are there for class, all should be there as it is, right? So that all rules should be obeyed. So you cannot have a special access uh, for nesting as well, right? So access member from inner to outer or outer to inner, whatever the rules which are there for class are as it is there. There is no special access for nesting, right? And this is where a example of nested class. In this example, actually two functions are there, and in nested class I am using a variable called num, and with those functions, that is set and get, by using set I'm going to set a value which is passed as parameter to the num variable, and by using get I am just going to display the thing. What is important here is, you know, um, scope resolution. So uh, this thing is important to access, or by using inner class and outer class relation, how to create an object. So for that, you need to use a fully qualified name, or you can say uh, outer class scope resolution operator inner class, and then to create an object for inner class, and on object you are going to call functions, right? So those things are there inside outer inner relation. So this is about Sakshi. Please mute Sakshi. So you can access the members from outside class as well inside inner class, right? So that thing is there as well. Need to mention it as a stat here if I want to access that variable, because I'm not going to create an object. So on the by using name of class, I'm going to access. So for that I need to mention that variable here, right? So by using this, I'm going to access. So this is about nested class, outer to inner. Also, one more class which is there is local class, right? So a class, if you declare a class inside function, right? If you declare a class inside function, it is referred to be as a local class in C++, right? So that class should be inside function, right? So if it is inside function, it is unknown to outside world, right? So whatever methods are there inside local class, you must define those method inside that class only, or sorry, inside that function only, right? Local class may not use local variable or function in which it is declared. If that methods are static or external, then only you can use those variables. Otherwise, you cannot use member functions of other member variable of that function, right? Even a local class cannot have static data member, but it can have static functions, right? And those functions or functions inside local class are inline by default. So no need to declare function as inline, but it is by default inline, right? So no need to write a keyword inline for local. And this is, the example wherein a function is declared, that is void func, and then uh, write a local class inside that. Class is same as that, the working of class is same as that of earlier class, which is used in when number is there, by get function we are going to set the value for that number, and by using get function we are displaying that value, right? So local class object should also be created, uh, object should also be created inside that function, and whatever functions are there related to that object, we are going to call it on that object as well, right? So inside main you can call only a function, right? So this is something called a local class. One more query that was asked inside, in a class, when I am going to explain this, in previous lectures about, mm, can I write a local class inside a class, class member function? Obviously, when you are going to write a class inside function, it is part of function. So you can write that, inside anywhere, right? Because it is part of function. So for that no query, you can write it inside a class as well, right? But it is called, member local in a class, right? And that terminology is related to anonymous classes and all. So don't get confused with those things as well. Just keep something which is as simple. Now, what you need to do is you need to just understand concept, right? So you can, right? So that question is raised inside classroom, in the classroom. So you also can write, local class inside class as well. Then passing object to function. You can pass object to function just like, you can pass uh, the variable, right? So by using standard call by value mechanism, you can pass those functions to those objects to function, right? And here it is, example for that. This is, a class called pass object is there. Then uh, this is the function. Actually, I'm going to pass the object as parameter to function. So why is it so? The object of same class is passed as parameter. So what actually this object hold is, object hold the value of a here. All right. So what I'm going to do with this function is I'm going to pass an object for this. I'm going to add it into this object, right, which is of same class. So it is simple, it is simply addition. So if you are going to pass it using parameter, then we need to consider the member of that object as well, which is there a plus uh, the data member of this object is going to add here in this, right? So, and how to call is pass object obj1 is 20 if obj1 dot add then obj1 I'm going to call the same object and I'm going to pass the same object as parameter with reference to add function. So what should be the result? Yes, anyone? What might be the result for this? Those who are present don't give answer. Those who are present for earlier lectures don't give answer. Those who are not there just try to give answers. Try to give answer for this query. What should be the result? Yes, anyone? Yes, anyone? Hmm. अरे जे होते त्यांनी नका देऊ answers. Okay. Okay, 40, right? So 40 is the answer, right? Also, just like, we can pass, object as parameter, we also can have a return an object from function, right? So if I'm going to return object from function, the return type of function should be type of object, right? So what type of object I'm going to use? Pass obj class is there. So type of object is pass obj, wherein I'm going to return that object by using this, right? So that we need to create an object and call, assign rather result of this function to that object here, right? So it will catch in obj2 or result of x2 is catch in obj2 and obj2 dot display will display the value of value actually returned from this function, which is actually returned from this function, right? So that thing is important. The problem is same as the which actually we are using earlier. So one more addition here is just a function. Using that function, we are going to add another value on that, and we are going to return that object to rather calling. Who is going to call? Here is obj2. We are assigning this object to obj2, right? So this is simply, returning from function. Then references, reference next is actually we are talking about, data type. With me, are you with me? Are you listening? Okay. So next is data types in C++. So whatever data types which are there in C are all here as well in C++. Obviously, classification is based on two types. One is built-in and another one is user-defined, which is there in C++. So there are two type of data types are there: built-in data type and user-defined data type. So built-in data types, that is integer, float, character, double, long integer, short integer, unsigned integer, then structure is there, union is there. All those data types which are there in C also work in C++. Additionally, two more built-in data types used in C++, that is bool and wcat. And bool is actually boolean variable wherein you can store two values, that is true and false, and wcat is a wide character where in C, if you are using character type, then the size of that is 1 byte, wherein in C++, WCAT, that is wide character stores actually 2 bytes. So why this WCAT is used? This is with some standard. So for Unicode standard, they are introduced a WCAT in C++, right? So this is about, built-in data type. There are one more, additional type which is there in user defined is class. Just like, structure is there in C++, we have class as user defined data type in C++, right? So in C++, we have class. Even we have references, just like, you gone through a point, right? Just like, pointer references are there in C++, right? So what is reference? You can say it's an alias name for given variable. Basically, or you can say implicitly, reference is a constant pointer, but you can rather use it in simple way, uh, like, whatever mechanisms are there for pointer, just like, there is address of operator, there is value at operators are there to work with pointer. Rather than this, references are simple, right? You can just create, reference by using ampersand. Whatever you want to initialize for that reference, you can initialize. It is simply an alias name for given variable, right? And internally, but internally, compiler treat this reference as a constant pointer, right? And after that, uh, see, related to pointers, you need not to have initialization at the time of declaration, but for reference, you need to initialize that reference while declaration, right? So that are some major changes in references and pointer. One more important thing about dereferencing is you need to derefer pointer by using star or value at address operator, right? Or rather value of operator. But in case of references, those are automatically dereferenced. That means you can access the value of a reference directly, right? Just like, normal variable. Those are some changes in references, right? And here it is an example, right? Wherein, just hold on for a while. Okay. Here it is in this function. I'm going to take an variable x and assigning 10 to this x variable. And for x, I'm going to create an, it is, x and my value is stored somewhere, and this is 10, and which is pointed by x. In case this is your first statement, wherein it will create an reference called y, right? If you assign x, it will also it will directly, just hold on, it will directly point to this, right? So it is simply, you can say, alias name for, rather alias name given to same variable, right? If you call the value of x, then it is 10, even though if you call value of y, then also it will give you 10. But if you ask for value of ampersand y, what should be the answer for third statement? Yes, in this, what might be the answer? what will return to console? Any answer? Are you with me? No? What answer actually it gives you? It will simply give you, no, address, right? So it will simply give you address of y, right? Rather. So this is about, uh, this is about nested local, and this now will. Okay, so we'll start with third unit, and that is inheritance. Now, what is inheritance? Anyone who's there for my lecture? Can anyone explain? Just by unmuting yourself. Anyone? What is inheritance? Hmm? Put it in
Hello,
chat
sir.
as well. Hmm? Hmm?
Uh,
Yeah, tell me.
in inheritance, object of one class acquires the properties of object of another class.
Okay, that is inheritance. Okay, good. Okay, unmute yourself. Okay, we'll start with inheritance. Now, what is inheritance is, see, inheritance is again a striking feature of object-oriented programming, right? So what is inheritance is, it's a process, right? What actually process to, rather gives you is, if, just a minute, the technique, someone has given answer, new class from, okay, thank you, Kushbu. So it's a process wherein you are going to create a new class from existing one. What you need to do is, from existing class, if you are creating no new class, you need to acquire all the properties of existing class into new class. So all those things are inherited inside your new class, right? Why actually we are using this inheritance is, this is no just for code reusability, right? If we have generalized thing, just like, I actually give an example of Walmart in a class, right? So if you want to acquire a general properties, no, in that case you write those general properties into base class, and whatever special things that are required, no, you will create and derived class from that, and you will access those general properties into derived class. You also mention this inheritance is, it is simply, a journey from generalization to specialization, right? So there are two type of classes in inheritance. One, it is called as base class, and from base class you can derive a class, or you create a child class, and that class is referred as derived class, right? So there are two three relations in between those classes. You treat as base class derived class relation, or you may say that parent class child class relation, or you can say super class subclass relation, right? So for inheritance, those many words are there. documentation of inheritance. Either you can use your books or you can use a document from Google. But what is important here is for C++, you need to consider this relation as based and base and derived class. Why it is so? Because it is for C++ purpose only. Don't use parent child words here in C++ because it is there in documentation of some of the book and even on Google documentation. For that reason, I mention it in my slide. Still, you need to use base derived relation for C++, right? So it is simply, acquiring properties of one class into another class, right? Okay. So what actually the main purpose of inheritance is, we can achieve reusability, or you can say code reusability we can achieve by using inheritance, right? So what type of code reusability if I want to mention, see, whatever members are there in base class, if you want to access in derived class, you need not to mention all those members. Either it is data member or member function inside derived class. Whatever is there in base class, you can directly access those in derived class, right? So if you want to use this, you can use. Additionally, you can provide different data members and member function inside derived class, right? So it will save your time. Also, if you update the things which is there inside base class, those updated functionalities, or you can say new functions, are also accessible for derived class. So as and when you change there in base class, those are automatically inherited inside derived class. So those are things which are there inside inheritance. Now, some of the striking feature which are there and which are important in case of inheritance. What all things are inherited? Obviously, all the things, rather data members are there, some of the member functions are there which are accessible inside, rather which are inherited inside, um, you can say derived class. Private members are even inherited in derived class, but you cannot access those private members inside derived class. There are certain functions available, those are not actually inherited inside derived class. So those functions are, you gone through the functions like, constructor, even destructor is there, copy constructor is there, front function is there, assignment operator function is there, even overloaded functions, right? So those all functions are not inherited inside derived class, right? So keep in mind that those functions like, constructor, destructor, you may say copy constructor are there, friend function is there, overloaded functions are there. Those functions are not inherited inside derived class. One more important terminology here is about, no, if it is not inherited inside, rather constructor, if constructor is not inherited inside derived class, then what about, no, constructor calling sequence of base class and derived class. So if you create an object for derived class and you want to access functionality of derived class, at that time whatever there in base class also get access, right? So in that case, it will implicitly call the constructor of base class, which is default constructor inside derived class, right? So when you are creating an object for derived class, it will call first constructor of base class, and then it is called the object of derived class. It is, when it is implicitly called, when your base class constructor is accessing only default constructor, at that time it is implicitly called. Otherwise, you need to call your parameterized constructor into base class. We'll see all those things in while having our programming demo, right? By that time, just keep in mind that the constructor calling sequence in case of inheritances, it is first call the constructor of base class and then it is called constructor of derived class. And it is exactly opposite in case of destructor, right? It is exactly opposite. That means destructor of derived class is first call and then for base class destructor call is given, right? So those are some important steps in case of inheritance. Now we'll move for a syntax part. Now how to achieve this inheritance, right? By using our programming, rather syntax and keywords which are there in C++, right? So how to achieve this inheritance is, the syntax is there on your screen. You need to write a class, rather keyword class, then you need to give a space, whatever name of derived class should be given, then colon, then colon is given, then access mode is given, and then base class name is given, right? So in that, whatever which is there from base class, you can access those properties and member functions based on access mode, based on access mode present over here, which is actually given you a relation between this derived class and base class. Rather, this actually gives you about, mode of inheritance. So just like, you have three access specifiers, which is public, private, and protected. In previous lectures, I think you know about, rather I explain about public and private access mode. Protected, which is basically used in inheritance stuff. We'll see what actually protected is. But timing, keep in mind that this access mode which is given here is mode of access, right? So for how, in what mode we are going to access this base class and this derived class, right? So how many access modes are there, or you can say mode of inheritance are there? There is public mode of inheritance, then private mode of inheritance, and in protected mode, right? So now, if I want to talk about, access specifier, if your data members are public, then you can access those data members anywhere outside class. Just by creating an object, you can access those data members. What about private data members? The data members which are present privately for that class are accessible only for that class. So functions inside that class only have an access of private data member. But what about protected? In case of protected, whatever data, if you mention those data members as protected, then you will have access of all those data member inside derived class as well. So it is, just like, public access specifier, but in relation with inheritance. So you can access this publicly, or you can say protected members are treated to be as access to be as publicly inside derived member, right? So the relation in between base class and derived class for those protected members are treated to be as public. You cannot access those protected data members outside class, right? You can access those in relation, in, you can say, base derived relation, but you cannot access protected data members outside the class, right? If you have an access, if you create an object, you cannot access those protected members outside class, right? Protected members are accessed only in derived class. So this is, you can say median in between public and private. You can access, but in controlled way, right? You can access those protected members, but For that, you need to mention a relation, or you need to write it is a derived and base relation. Then only you can access those protected members, right? Public data members can access anywhere just by creating object. Private, you cannot access outside class, but inside class you can access in member function as well, right? So this is about a syntax of inheritance. Now we'll talk about mode of inheritance. Okay, uh, we'll only have, I think, 5 minutes, so we'll cover those things next lecture. We'll talk about mode of inheritance in next lecture.